Hello and welcome to another episode of Friday Female. Happy New Year as well, 2018. This is our first Friday Female of the year. I am your host Amanda, and today we have the lovely Nyasha Matanda. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah, good to have you. So guys, Nyasha is the founder of SilkEBee, which is skincare, right? She really started off in her own kitchen in 2015, wanting to create something for her own daughter. And since then, she's been featured in Harper's Bazaar, Health and Beauty. So not bad, if I do say so myself.
Thank you.
So I'll let you kind of tell me a little bit more about what SilkEBee is and how SilkEBee came about.
Okay, right. So just like Amanda said, it started in my kitchen. My daughter had really bad dry skin and eczema at about the age of 2 months. So I was back and forth from the doctors, getting prescribed emollients. It was at the point where they were now prescribing, low-level steroids, but it was still a steroid. And I was like, you know what? This is not happening.
For a 2-month-old as well, that's quite a lot.
This is the thing. So I just thought, steroids literally strip layers off your skin. And I could see it happening, and as I was popping it on, I could just feel like the skin was almost sinking in. And I thought, you know what, let me look into this. And I'd kind of heard musings of using natural stuff, and I was like, I use a lot of natural stuff for my hair. So I was like, okay, right, let's see, so I started using coconut oil. So that would help with the itching. And I thought, okay, fine, but her skin isn't healing fast enough. What can I use? So I started adding shea butter. And shea butter is really good. It's really, really nourishing. It goes deep into the cells and rejuvenates the skin, increases the skin cell turnover. So I thought, okay, that's a good combination. But I thought I wanted it to smell nice, and I wanted her to smell like
a
baby.
Like
a baby, right? So, and I didn't like the sterile smell of the steroids. So I wanted to get so far away from that. So I started adding raw cocoa. So I added that, and then finally beeswax, which just helps protect the skin. It forms a layer that protects the skin and keeps the moisture in. Anyone who's got eczema knows that, it's all just about moisture loss. And the skin doesn't retain moisture very well. So if you have that layer of beeswax, it literally just protects the skin, but also keeps out any allergens. So anything that might be irritating your skin, it's just protected.
Like a nice protective layer.
Exactly.
Nice.
So I put that all together, and then I got the baby balm, and that basically smells like chocolate. So
nice.
Yeah, so I use it.
Good enough to eat.
Good enough to eat. Even now she's a toddler, so she'll take the balm and be smelling it like it's a sensory experience for her, and she'll be like, "Mommy, cream! I want my cream!" And she's got ownership of it, and she'll be popping it on. She'll be like, she has this patch of dry skin. She'll be like, "Cream, mommy, cream, cream, mommy." So I'm like, okay,
that's amazing.
Yeah. So it was nice to have that. And the kids, they talk about having this sensory experience when you're going out there and you're going to mum and baby groups. She was going to baby sensory. So, even just her own self-care and combining those two together, now she knows that cream is nourishing. And if she has a patch of eczema or itchiness, she knows that the cream will help. So that's how the business started. And it was just that when I started taking her back to the mum and baby groups with this sort of new look, they were like, "What are you using? We want some." Luckily though, my mum had given me a book, because when it started working, my mum then reminded me that my grandmother used to make natural skincare, and I was like, this is where it comes in. And now I know.
The dots.
Connecting the dots, exactly. And so mum also played her hand, where she was like, here's a book, and that's how I discovered that I needed to get everything cosmetically tested before I could even just give it to anyone. So I got my formulations cosmetically tested. I started adding different experimenting with different essential oils as well, so that I could use it, because I didn't want to then hold her and have something that would be an irritant.
Yes.
And then so that's how all the other fragrances came about. It was almost just a family thing where someone was like, "Oh, can I have some?" But I like this scent, and someone else was like, "Oh, I like this scent." So it was just like, okay, let's do that. But I think the SilkEBee was born out of the baby balm and the need to to help my daughter out and to help, I guess, other mums then, because I had to get that cosmetically tested, and I started giving it to other mums and it was working. So, yeah.
I really like that. I like, we were just talking before we started recording about how sometimes things, okay, I'm gonna say, if you can hear a background noise, there is building works going on in my apartment, and I thought of like not filming, but guys, this is real life.
Yeah.
This is what it is. It happens.
Under construction.
Under construction, like my channel. There you go. It's really nice when things happen organically like that, right? So how do you then move from this is just something that I want to do, like because out of the need to want to help your daughter, to then it's a big leap from I'm just going to do this in my kitchen and give it to my daughter and my friends and my family, to okay, this is a business now. We need branding, we need packaging, we need this. How was that leap for you?
Oh God, I think I'm still leaping. I'm still mid-leap. I'm like, just like, so I'll let you know when I touch the ground. But, it like you said, it happens organically and you're pushed and it becomes this thing that's bigger than you. Because like I said, when at the moment when mum says, oh, your grandmother used to do this, I'm like, oh my God, like, this is bigger than just me, like in my little self. And yes, I've always been a creative, but I'd never found something that I felt was, a passion enough to make it into a business. So, I was creative, I was business minded somewhat, but I was just in a career. And I would, always be jotting ideas down, but never actually taking that leap.
Yeah.
And it obviously took me being a mom and being at home on maternity leave to think, actually, I've got all this time. When she takes a nap, I can do my research, I can contact packaging companies, I can get the logo designed, all these things that I'd already done at uni and, in life and, just came together at that point. So it's almost like I was being prepared to get to this point. So yeah, it's not easy. For me, it was on a shoestring budget. It still is. So I haven't. I'm still at almost a grassroots level somewhat, and I'm at the point where it's either I scale up or you know what I mean, and get further investment or whatever else I need to do. So I'm, like I said, I'm still leaping. But it's been brilliant, and like I said, it's just once you get yourself out there, you start getting these opportunities coming to you. It was Harper's Bazaar was out of me just joining Twitter and like following certain exactly, and then they contacted me and like, do you want to be in Harper's Bazaar? And I'm like, sorry, what?
Yeah.
And that's how that happened. So things are just happening organically, and I think the next thing is that just came out organically was a nomination I was telling you earlier for the Black Beauty and Fashion Awards that are on the 23rd of February. Now that came out of just being on Instagram, finding a call for samples for the Black Beauty and Fashion Awards opening at the House of Commons. So this was done last year in the summer, the opening at the House of Commons, and I just made like 50 samples for the gift bags and stuff, and from then on I sent them out, and Cheryl, the lady who's the founder, actually contacted me and just heard my story, and she said, you need to put yourself up for one of our nominations. And I'm like, girl, I just wanted to do a gift bag, and I was like, oh, well, okay, you know what, you never know. So it's like I said, I'm still leaping, but things are, as I'm in mid-leap, little things are coming up. It's almost like I'm pulling out little stars, or the stars are finding me as I...
It sounds to me more like the more you step out. The more you put yourself out there, the luckier you get. Lucky. You know what I mean? Like the more you put yourself out, the more opportunities come. Because if you hadn't, put yourself out and made gift bags, or if you hadn't been using social media and interacting, none of these opportunities would have come, forward.
It's true.
So, how do you stay? I mean, are you a one-man show, or you?
Literally, it's just me.
Which is amazing, by the way, because you're a mother, and to be able to do all these things and be a mom and work and all that stuff is a lot.
Yeah.
So kudos to you for that. How do you stay motivated?
How do I stay motivated? That's a really good question. I think because as it is, it's born out of a passion, and it's born out of, I almost feel like sometimes when there's maybe when you're answering your calling, like if you are passionate about something, and sometimes life does get on top, and you think, oh, I can't get to that at this moment. What I've started to do is use that as an outlet. I'm like, I have to spend time and actually consciously make time towards, because then I know I might be stressed about something at work, but if I go and sit down and spend some time on me, it's almost that self-love thing where if I'm not loving myself, I'm not pouring into my passion.
Yes.
So I've tied it into that.
I love that.
So that's my motivation. It's like, self-love time, because we're not feeling right now. So it's like, okay, where are we with SilkEBee? Where are we with this? Because that is you. That is ingrained within you. That is your daughter. That is the love of your life. So it's tied into that. And then obviously just, seeing her running around, and maybe sometimes holding the balm, and it's like, we run out of balm, we need to make some more.
Yeah.
And just also I think also that, like I said, things are happening organically. Me sitting here next to you, is me putting myself out there again. I could have said, I don't know if I'm ready. I don't, it could have been so much trepidation and not have stood up to it. But here I am, and
I'm glad you're here.
So it's almost like a divine thing, and the self-love thing, implementing it into your lifestyle and your journey through life.
I really, really love that you said that. I am a self-love advocate.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes we say self-love and we think self-love, oh my God, like, okay, like, I'm gonna get my nails done. Self-love, hashtag.
Yeah.
And what you said is like, your emotional connection to your passion, to your purpose, to why you want to do this. So actually sitting down and doing the work is an act of self-love.
Basically.
That's a powerful golden nugget right there.
Yeah.
I love that.
Thank you.
Yeah. So we're gonna just kind of take it a little bit light now.
Okay.
We were talking about, like, I was telling you about my first ever job, right? What was your first ever job? And tell me one thing that you learned from that you use now in your business.
Okay. My first ever job was at Next Clearance. Not even the act. I couldn't get to the Next itself. I had to go to the clearance. So it was Next Clearance in Great Bar in Birmingham.
Wow.
And I was 17, and I remember saying to Mum, I'm going to get a job. And she's like, no, you need to concentrate on your studies. And I was like, no, I'm getting a job. There's stuff that I need to just get for myself, and you don't give me the money. So this is what's happening. Now, what did I learn from... Next Clearance used to get really busy. It was, it was packed at times, especially after the next sale, because stuff used to come from there to us. But it taught me customer service, that the customer's always right, and paying attention to the customer's needs, being patient. Being patient.
It's hard sometimes, and you have those really difficult customers, and you're like... Lord, give me strength. Exactly. But it's a really, really good thing to master.
Yeah. So customer service, just having a conversation with someone, it also maybe took me out of my shell. I was only 17, but here I am, like standing there, meeting different people, becoming that person who just talks to anyone.
Yeah.
But just the fact that I, stood up against my mum as an African child. And I was like, I'm getting a job, just got me on the path to being my own, and standing within myself and saying, you know what, like, Mum, I love you, and it's great, and I know you feel like you're doing the best for me, but this is what I want to do. So having
that's amazing.
That's just having that confidence within yourself to say, this is me, I love you, but this is what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
And I think
My mom was the opposite, by the way.
Really?
My mom was like, when are you getting a job? You need to get a job. And I'm like, but I don't want a job. She's like, no, you need to get a job. And my mom would go into shops and be like, are you hiring? My daughter is available. I feel like she would have had me work for free. Like, here, take her. Get a job. She's so happy when I got a job. She's just like, yep. Get out of the house.
Oh, bless. Oh
Yeah, but you know, it is. I think it teaches you as well, like a little bit of discipline and responsibility. So, which is something that we could all use, like in life, you know.
Yes, definitely.
So, what is the vision for SilkEBee?
Oh God.
What is, and when I say vision, I like, what's the big goal?
I like to say that SilkEBee is your lifelong natural skincare companion, in the sense that, you know, it's for the whole family.
Yeah.
So, you know, the baby balm is cosmetically tested safe for babies. So as a pregnant mom, so we're talking about obviously from conception, you can put it on your baby bump, you know what I mean? And, you know, shea butter is really good for, you know, sort of reducing the appearance of stretch marks and stuff. And you know, when those stretch marks come and baby's growing, you know, you want something, also the itchiness of a baby bump.
Skin stretching.
Exactly,
Yeah,
the skin stretches, and I remember my mom telling me I couldn't scratch. I'm like, what do you mean? I've been scratching all my life. Now I'm a mother, I can't scratch. And it was because if you scratch, you get stretch marks. That was the concept. But obviously, you know, being able to use the baby balm on your bump, so many chemicals out there in products. So being able to use something that's so pure from, you know, baby's inception, and sort of taking that through all the way to the whole family. And even once baby's born, you can pop it on their skin, but you know, it's literally something that in some countries people cook shea butter, they eat it. You know
really?
What I mean? Yes.
What?
Yes.
I've never heard that before.
In Ghana, they eat shea butter. So it's all stuff, you know, it's all stuff you can eat. I was watching...
Yeah, I don't think I want to do that.
I was watching Dragons Den, and actually Deborah Meaden said, do not put what you put on your skin, you should be able to eat.
Yeah, I get that, but girl.
Okay, well, it's a butter. You put it in with something else, and you probably won't taste it really. Okay, so there's things like there's coconut oil in there. There's there's beeswax. There's cocoa butter, which makes, you know, it's raw cocoa, so you get that chocolatey smell coming from the baby balm itself, and it's, you know, because it's what makes chocolate. So, like I said, lifelong natural skincare companion. Still need to get it right, the wording, but that's the vision. It's you know, I want to maybe be able to get into stores, but I want to be able, you know, being of African descent, be able to also supply it to, you know, to Africa, to parts of Africa, you know, and bring that idea back into, you know, using things that are of the earth and that are of nature on your skin, because I think we're all into kind of, oh, what's the latest out there, and instead of just like thinking, you know, this is coming from literally potentially your garden, especially if you're in Africa and you've got a shea butter tree.
Being more conscious of the choices
and environmentally friendly. Like our packaging is environmentally friendly. We've got aluminium tins, which is, you know, things that are recyclable. So things like that, and bringing that awareness to, you know, the more you take care of the environment, the more you take care of yourself, the healthier you will be. And, you know, having had a child who's allergic to stuff, you know, you realize where allergens are coming from. They're coming from your detergent, they're coming from the things that you're putting on your skin, they're coming from the environment. And if you can do your bit to just saving it, and, you know, maybe there might just be less, because more and more kids are coming out with allergies nowadays. There might just be less.
So true, it is. And, you know, like, it's so weird because my son, we had a similar journey with him. Still are actually on maybe now because he has flares and then some not, but his skin got so bad that like he would literally try to like scratch his skin off. It hurt so much. I was constantly going back to the doctor, like, what can I do? And I was being given all those emollients and all that stuff. And I'm like, it's not, and it wasn't working. I was like, it's not working, you know? And one thing that we've kind of started to be more aware of, like what you just said, is not just trying to find like a product to cure this, but looking at all the things that we're putting, like what detergent we're using, you know, because it's all those things that impact it, that make that worse. So it's kind of like we need to really just be more aware of what we are putting on ourselves, you know. So that's a really good point. It's quite.
I like the fact that you mentioned, you know, things that are curative rather than preventative. And that's what I'm saying. If you have a lifelong natural skincare companion, you're being preventative. You know what I mean? If you're starting from grassroots level and you're eating healthy, what you're putting on your skin is healthy and your baby's healthy, then you're not having to look for something that's then going to, you know, because you might not be eating healthy. You might have pop something on your skin that, you know, might have caused a reaction. Now you're looking for a cure rather than just preventing.
Exactly.
That reaction in the first place.
Yeah.
So I like that.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So where do people actually find you normally? Do you work from home? Do you have like a shop front? Are you online? How does it work?
Okay, well, I am still a working mum, so I still have my career, and SilkEBee is you know, my part-time. It's my passion, so to speak. But I do have a website, so I'm on www.silkebee.com. You can
link it below.
Yeah. So you can buy the balms on there. I'm easily accessible online if you want to send me a message from the website. Also, I'm on Twitter at BeeSilky, so it's BeeSilke. I'm on Instagram at SilkEBee Skincare. And I'm on Facebook again at SilkEBee Skincare. So if you ever need to send a message on there, and I always communicate if I'm doing any shows, because I've done baby shows. I've done you know, baby shows in Chelmsford and Birmingham. You know, I might start doing stuff more in London as well, and you know, maybe Spitalfields. But I'm looking into that. But anything in terms of shop fronts and so forth will always be communicated online. But just so far, it's just online, www.silkebee.
Nice. So you brought some of your products with you.
I did.
That we're gonna have a little mini play with.
A little smell. So these are all the samples.
Okay.
I'll say this is the lavender balm.
So this is SilkEBee body balm. You can see that.
So it's got a massive sample mark on there. So that's got the lavender on there. In there, it's got lavender essential oils. Now, the ones with essential oils are safe from ages 3 years up. Now, lavender is really good to calm your senses, you know, after a long day.
Do you do this before bed?
Yes.
Really nice.
Yes, it's just, sometimes I just drop the essential oils in my bath. Just, it's so calming, or I burn incense. It might be lavender scented, so you just have that whole, you know, I need to calm down, I need to zen after a long day, and this is part of it.
Nice.
So there's the lavender, okay. The star of the show that I keep mentioning is this. This is the baby balm. Sorry, my sample's a bit.
Also, I have to mention, because you didn't mention it, they are 100% natural and organic.
Sorry. They are. No preservatives at the moment. No preservatives.
No, ever. Ever. Don't say at the moment. We're taking 5 steps forward and 20 steps back.
You're right. Never preservatives.
This is so
you can get natural preservatives.
It smells like chocolate.
I told you,
It really does. It's so nice.
It smells like dark chocolate, like, because it's cocoa, and that's
I might kind of want some of this for myself.
That's the one that I just gave you as a gift.
This is really nice.
You're like,
this is really nice.
And as you put it on, it's just really soothing, and it glides on, and it'll sink down. So
it feels really good.
Thank you.
I like this. Yeah, this is my favorite.
Yeah. Okay,
That's
brilliant.
Awesome.
So peppermint, if you want one for your feet. This is just another size that I also have. I've got sample sizes online as well if you don't want to commit to a big pot.
Yeah.
So that's peppermint, good for your feet, inflamed feet and so forth. Hey, after the gym, bit of a cheese going on.
I had that issue at Pilates yesterday. Actually, I had somebody whose feet.
Oh, I thought they were yours. I was like,
girl! Hell no! Somebody whose feet, and you know, like you interchange, and someone's feet are in your face, and I was just kind of like, oh my god, seriously, this is hell.
And you need to be breathing.
Yeah, take a deep breath. You're like, oh, it's not a good idea.
Okay, and we've got vanilla.
So
that's got actual vanilla essence in there, so it's quite really natural.
Vanilla.
Yeah.
Very nice.
That's a bit of the vanilla there. And then we have finally orange. Now this is probably the most subtle, but it's always activated when you pop it on your skin. I don't know what it is about the orange. I've just found that the essential oil almost disappears into the balm. But when you pop it onto your skin, you kind of have more of a subtle fragrance. So it's actually the most gentle.
Yeah, I can smell it.
You see what I mean? Like it's almost activated by the heat that you pop on there. But yeah, that's the orange balm. So that's more invigorating and awakening, but still quite in a subtle way. So you know, I've had mums who will buy one and be like, I just pop it on my hands because I'm constantly washing my hands.
It feels really nice.
Yeah, and because it's got that beeswax, it just lasts a little bit just a little bit longer than what lotion would do, especially if it's cold. I just found after becoming a mum, I could never wear gloves. So because I'm like, I need to hold this, or I need to drive, or I need to. So I'm just constantly taking my gloves off, washing my hands, and it's just really good if you just pop the balm on because of that beeswax. It's just lasting a little bit longer.
That's amazing. Okay, so before we wrap up, I have 2 more questions.
Okay.
So first question is, what has been your biggest failure on this journey so far, and what have you learned from it?
Okay, wow. Okay, I think, the biggest failure was when I started making the balms. Obviously because I don't use preservatives, I found that, after a while, the balms would crystallize. So the ingredients would start to kind of form little lumps in the pot. So I had one customer come back and they're like, girl, we like your product, but it's crystallizing and it's just not as smooth. It's like, it's fine because, you rub it together and, it still pops onto the skin. So I just had to change. I had to sort of read up and look further into the process and figure out how with the temperatures, it's very sort of, I just feel like sometimes I'm back in chemistry, at school, and I'm just like, okay, this needs to be done quickly before this does this and this does this, and at this levels you're measuring, and so I just changed the way I started making it, just the cooling process. Whereas before I'd probably leave it out to cool, now I'm like actually like popping it in just to preserve it, to capture that that essence and keep it in just a little bit longer. But again, because I'm not using preservatives, it is still going to happen, but just not at the same rate, and maybe not as crystallized as before. But what I found out, what I learned, is that it actually doesn't take away from the integrity of the product. And that's the important thing. It's just that, you rub it in and it glides onto the skin. The product's it, but then that's just, I think that was the thing of, you want something natural, or do you want something that will have preservatives and look good, or do you want something that's just going to be really, really nourishing for your skin and not harmful?
So in overall, basically, it was a failure.
It was a failure.
But like the lesson learned from that was bigger than the failure.
Yeah, it was just, it might look like a failure, but I think that's the thing with failure. Sometimes they look like failures at the start, and you think, oh my gosh, I've just wrecked everything, I've ruined what I've just started here, this was my baby, what am I gonna do? But through doing that, you just, you pick yourself up and you just make it better, or you appreciate, what's actually, the essence of what you're doing. You know what I mean? It's just, and it's, I think that's the lesson to learn, is that you can just pick yourself up and you learn from there. It's learning process.
Definitely.
Yeah, I keep saying learn,
We're never
basically.
not learning, and that's I think that's always the theme. Even with our other Friday Female, the theme is you're constantly learning, you're constantly growing, and I don't think that ever ends.
It doesn't.
It
actually doesn't.
Carries on.
Yeah. And if you're not learning, then you kind of have to think, what am I not doing right?
Yeah. If you're not growing, you're dying.
Not growing, you're dying. Exactly. I love that. Yeah.
So, final question is, what advice would you give for somebody out there who, even someone who's like a mother who has a bright idea that they want to, a business they want to start or something they want to do, and they're overwhelmed and they have work and all this stuff that we juggle, all this life stuff, But what advice would you give for somebody who wanted to get started?
Okay. What advice? Close your eyes and just do it. Take the leap. Now, I think if you are a mom and you are busy and you're juggling many hats, you probably don't find time to yourself. You probably don't think, you know what, you probably might think it's selfish that you're going to say, you know what, I'm going to take an hour or two to myself. But in that hour or two where you might find it in somewhere in the day, maybe when the kids have just gone to bed, or first thing in the morning, where you're like, okay, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to, you know, take the first step, which might be I'm going to do my logo, or you know what I mean,
or even just writing it down. Just seriously sitting down. There's something to be said about putting things on paper that it solidifies it. It almost makes it real. So just writing down, put down like the little steps, you know.
Vision boards.
Do
a vision board. Well, I've got a very makeshift vision board. I've taken my daughter's old chalkboard and I've just taken that. I've just written all these things that I need to do to manifest into my life. So even
it's like anything.
Take a crayon.
That works. It's true. And I like when you say, like, even if you have 1 or 2, an hour or so, whatever, because I remember I went back to finish college when my son was a baby, and I was like doing my dissertation at night when he was sleeping, you know, like I would have to kind of like plan myself around that. And there's times when I'm like, how did I do that? You know, there's times when you're like, how did I do that? But you know, you do, like, your passion has to be like what you say, self-love. Love yourself enough to get started. Love yourself enough to do that project you've been wanting to do, you know?
And also I think that one thing is that when you start self-loving and pouring into yourself, you can give more. Because if you're running and you're doing everything and you're running on empty and you're giving to everyone else, and you know, you're juggling all these hats and you're not taking time to pour in, you won't have anything left to actually be like, oh, you know, my kids, I need to do this. You just feel like you almost start to resent that you have to do that because you've got nothing left inside.
We never talk about that bit, but that is so true.
You've got nothing left.
If you have nothing for yourself, if you're not following your passion, if you're not doing what makes you happy, you will start to resent other people around you, including your children, or your family, your boyfriend, your husband. So you owe it to yourself.
You owe it to yourself. You owe it to them to love, to be the best you can be for them and for yourself.
I think that's a really good space to close at. Don't you think? That's amazing?
I think so.
Nyasha, thank you so much
Thank you
for taking the time to come and sit down and, you know, talk to us about your product, which I love.
Thank you.
My hands still smell of chocolate, which is awesome. And I'm definitely going to link on the blog and in the description box on YouTube where you can find her website, her social media. I say definitely go and check her out, you guys. And you know, if you're watching this and it's still February, check out the awards.
Oh yes, exactly.
So,
I'm also starting a little bit of a YouTube channel. I've got my behind the scenes, almost about SilkEBee, why I started and stuff on YouTube, and that's just SilkEBee Diaries. But I might just be talking more to people. That's what I'm going to start doing. Might do a get ready with me for the awards. I'm thinking about it, but
just do something.
Link will be on the bottom. I'll do something. I just need to leap. I just need to start leaping, basically.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for watching. As usual, if you love this video, if you feel like you got even one golden nugget from it, please do feel free to share it with somebody who might like it as well. Feel free to like this video, subscribe, because we have Friday Females coming out monthly. And until then, just remember to love the life you're living. Bye.
Thank you. Bye, guys.